Again, my house is absolutely chaotic, so don't mind that at all. I'm just gonna be... Ugh, no, we're gonna figure this out. Ugh, I was gonna do this before stream to see if we could do some vibey stuff with the stream. Ah, vibes. You can barely see it. You can barely see it. We're gonna see if we're gonna take like 5 minutes, guys. First it was the music. Now it's to see if we can get like a cool vibe going on in the stream with the lights. Because I officially have these fucking lights everyone has. I liked the purple. Maybe like a pink. It's just because it's the middle of the fucking day, and I have. Yeah, we'll do this. We'll go this. I like the purpley. It's the middle of the day, so it's super hard to see any of this that's going on. No matter how hard I try, I guess blue's the only thing you can see. So we'll stick with blue. But yeah, I have fucking color changing lights. I got some $30 lights on Amazon, and now I have color changing lights, and it looks dope, and it's hot now. It was cold earlier, but this sweater is really, really good. It like said it was weatherproof, and I was like, psych, it's not weatherproof. It ain't doing jack. And here I am, every time I've worn that jacket, even outside when I would normally be fucking shivering, because everyone told me that like I had until November before shit got real cold. But like they didn't accommodate for the fact that they were acclimatized and I'm not. So October hits and we in the 40s and I'm not okay. I have not been okay. Right? It's been rough. Okay, this is cute. We good. Yeah, I've been freezing my ass off. I'm probably going to start wearing a winter coat from now on, which is fine. It happens, you know? Whatever I have to do to not be a fucking popsicle. But yeah, like normally I'd be like freezing to death. Been wearing this like weatherproof shacket. I think it's a shacket, as people would call it. And I've survived. I've survived far better than I thought I would at this point. But shalom, folks. Salutations. My name is Brianna Sukiyama-Bond, otherwise known as the Ordinary Scholar, and welcome to the stream. Look at that. We got an image. See, I told you guys I wanted to make some stuff like better, make it a little bit higher quality. I immediately got cold. I took this off and immediately got cold. So we're just gonna leave it on, whether I sweat or not. I'm a fucking dork. But yeah, we're streaming. We're getting into it. I wanted to make some stuff some high quality. Specifically, I wanted to have some stuff on the screen for you to look at other than myself and my absolute disaster of a house. Got some genmaicha, Japanese genmaicha tea from Dollar Tea Club. Love this shit. But yeah, I wanted to do that, and so we're gonna start having like the thumbnails here for you all to see. Something is not showing up for some reason, but it's fine. It's fine. There's just gonna be like a little coding error in the top left corner of this image. Hopefully it's not there in the thumbnail of the video, but you know what? It's too late. It's too late. Okay, but yeah, today we are doing it's gonna do it. Oh, it's not doing the thing. I was hoping it would restart the animation. Oh well. Today we're doing our reading wrap up of the past quarter, and I don't know why my mind just refused to process the fact that the quarter was July, August, and the fact that the video was like July, August, and September. Like my mind, I don't understand why, but it just genuinely refuses to acknowledge the fact that those months were the past quarter and that they're over. And now, like, I also don't know, in my head's like, October should also be with September, you know? Like, November and December are just their own little devilish state over there. But here we are. And we are getting into those books. It was so trippy to realize like some of these books were in that quarter. It was weird. My head was just miffed up. My head was just freaking out. I couldn't figure it out. I was so overwhelmed trying to figure out what books were in this quarter. But let's get into it with the first book of the quarter, and we're gonna like have our super high quality setup. I know we have the thing here and the graphics there are super cool, but I actually did not what the fuck? I did not want to end up doing with this I didn't want to have the blurbs of the books because that's just a lot of text, and I felt like it wasn't necessarily useful because there would be no way for me to put all that text in this little box and have it be something like y'all can still read, especially if you're watching on a phone or something. So I'm gonna still read the blurb off of my phone, and we're all gonna be okay with that. So going all the way the fuck back, first video of the first book of the quarter, which I thought was last quarter. I guess not. I guess it was the first book of the next quarter. I'm very confused, guys. But I looked at my notes from what little notes I had, because I basically, like, the start of this quarter was also, like, really the start of my move and me when I first got to Chicago. And looking at, like, what last of the notes I was able to keep up before I completely just fell apart as a human being. I for sure put this book in quarter 3. So, first book I read, Song of the Forever Rains by, I'm sure it has an author, E.J. Mello. This is the first book of the Musai series. I actually got this book. There's a thing you can sign up for called Prime First Reads. It's free to sign up, and you get a free book for, like, at the beginning of every month, and it's a book that's going to be coming out later on. So you get to read it, and potentially give out, like, an advanced review before the book releases. So that's how I got this book. And the description is, the Thief Kingdom is a place hidden within the world of Adlior. Can you tell I haven't practiced these? Many whisper of its existence, but few have found this place where magic and pleasure abound. There, the mysterious Thief King reigns supreme with the help of the Musai, a trio of revered and feared sorceresses. Larkira Basset may be the youngest of the Musai, but when she sings, her voice has the power to slay monsters. When it's discovered the Duke of Lackland is siphoning a poisonous drug from the Thief Kingdom and using it to abuse his tenants, Larkira is offered her first solo mission to stop the Duke. Eager to prove herself, Larkira accepts by posing as the Duke's potential bride, but her plan grows complicated when she finds herself drawn to Lord Darius McKenna, Lackland's rightful heir. Soon she suspects Darius has his own motivations for ridding Lackland of the corrupt Duke. Larkira and Darius must learn to trust each other if there is to be any hope of saving the people of Lackland and themselves. Welcome to the world of Idler, where lords and ladies can be murderers and thieves, and the most alluring notes are often the deadliest. Dare to listen. So, this book, I actually really liked how it was written. I thought it was really, really well done. I liked the concept. I read this book and immediately pre-ordered the next book in the series, which I will be reading later on this year. I loved, in this story, there was this concept, when she gets to the Duke and the Lord's house, she finds out that the Lord? Is he a Duke? Who's the Duke and who's the Lord? She finds we're just gonna call him the bad guy, and then, Darius is the good guy, who is his stepson. So the bad guy is taking these drugs, which give him magic, but it's not his own magic, so it's super toxic and stuff like that. He'll take these drugs, gain the magic, abuse his stepson, and then use the magic to also remove his stepson's memory of the event. So his stepson has lived his whole life where he'll just wake up and have these scars all over his body and have no idea where they came from. But, like, deep down, he has a feel. He knows, based on, like, everything about his stepfather, including every other way his stepfather interacts with him in his actual memory. He knows that his stepfather is responsible for it, but, like, he just can't remember because of the amnesia that's being inflicted. I my two biggest issues with the book, one story wise, is the main character has this whole inner battle with herself about how she's concerned that when she gave her mother died in childbirth, and she is convinced that when she screamed, because babies scream when they're first born, that killed her mother. And I felt the way that they resolved that and like tied that up was really I wasn't the biggest fan, particularly. So what they end up deciding is that she didn't kill her mother. Because her magic came from her mother. She couldn't have ever killed her mother, and like that just felt like it like the character was supposed to be going through like this whole battle to like feel comfortable with her powers and stuff like that, and it felt like we removed the obstacle as opposed to helping her over it. I feel like there could have been a lot of character development had she actually ended up killing her mother, but we help her realize like there's zero chance that this could be her fault, because she was literally just born. She was going to cry. It's not her fault that they weren't properly prepared for that, or like that no one knew what her power was going to be, so no one would have been able to prepare for that. It may have come from her, but that doesn't make it in any way her fault. I would have preferred that kind of development. And the biggest issue I had with this book was the way they talked about drug abuse was so like just demeaning and so antagonistic. And they were so like they were all, like right here. They were so close to being able to acknowledge how drug abuse comes from can come from like certain places of like depression or like trauma and stuff like that. But I almost want to think that maybe they didn't want, because so many people struggle with, and so many consumers can struggle with finding any sort of human characteristics in the bad guy of the story. And so the route they went with was, we have to demonize drug abuse and him abusing drugs, so we can make sure we are not excusing the abuse of a child. But either way, like, you can become addicted to drugs, be a victim of the drugs, and still do horrible things and still deserve repercussions for the things you've done to others, even though there is a chain of events that pushed you to the drugs. Like, so I felt like they just were very antagonistic to the concept of using and abusing drugs and drug addiction in a way that I didn't like. But other than that, I did very much enjoy the book. I'm interested in reading the next one, which it seems like there's going to be 3 Musai books, because the series is Musai, there are 3 girls. This one was following Lakira, and the next one is going to be following one of her sisters, as we, like, the story is like, we found the dude who was using drugs and using it to, like, destroy this kingdom, and we dealt with that, but now we're following the trail to the guy who's actually pulling the drugs out of the Thief Kingdom. Stuff like that. So we'll read the next book. We'll read the next book, see how we feel about that, and maybe we'll get the third one. At the moment, I don't know if I am in any position where I wouldn't want the third book, but we'll see what happens after the second one's finished. Next on the list of books we read, The 7-Day Switch by Kelly Harms. Let's get you guys the description real quick. Celeste Mason is the Pinterest stay-at-home supermom of other moms' nightmares. Despite her all-organic, sun-butter-loving, free-range kids, her immaculate home, and her volunteering awards, she still has time to relax with a nice glass of Pinot at the end of the day. The only thing that ruins it all is her workaholic, career-obsessed neighbor who makes no secret of what she thinks of Celeste's life's choices every chance she gets. Wendy Charles is a celebrated productivity consultant, columnist, and speaker. On a minute-by-minute schedule, she makes the working mom hustle look easy. She even spends at least one waking hour a day with her kids. She's not apologizing for a thing, especially to Celeste, who plays her superior parenting against Wendy whenever she can. Who do Celeste and Wendy think they are? They're about to find out thanks to one freaky week. After a neighborhood pollock and too much sangria, they wake up, in each other's bodies. Everything Celeste and Wendy thought they knew about the other kind of mom is flipped upside down along with their messy, complicated, maybe not so different lives. So I ended up not really being a big fan of this book. I felt like the book could have probably been half as long, maybe a third as long, but that rest of the space was fluffed up with literally just repeat, like, oh my god, we do this thing. I'm starting to realize maybe she's not so bad after all, in the exact same way over and over and over again. And it was a little frustrating that, and also, we'll get there. A big thing, they made the thing of like, oh my god, one of the moms thinks she's super superior. She never comes off that way. At no point in the book does she at every single point that we see that mom, like, she seems like she's just trying to be helpful and be neighborly. There's no point where she, even when we are in her mind, it seems like she wants to be superior at all. It just seems like she wants to be helpful and she has the time to do this or that thing, so she wants to do it. Maybe, like, she goes a little too hands-on with the kids, and maybe she feels like, we do see, like, a point where she feels like she is a bad mom if she isn't devoting every ounce of her attention to her kids, but we never see her be, like, it doesn't feel like she's ever judgmental towards the working moms, towards the moms who get, like, takeout, stuff like that. And I don't feel that at all, but they make it, like, in order to make it seem like she also had it change throughout all of this, they kind of forced that through, and I don't know, I didn't get that from it. There was this, like, weird romantic thing that they wanted to do with Wendy's co-worker, like, they kept, like, talking about him, be like, oh, you should date him, oh my god, there's, like, a dude that's actually interested in you, and because, like, the next bullet point says, they make her husband the literal worst human being on the fucking planet. Like, she doesn't need this, she doesn't, like, use this prompt of a dude that's into her to at all impact the story. He's literally not even there when they have the, like, epilogue and everyone's, like, super happy now. He's literally not even fucking there. So I don't understand why we wasted so much time with this romantic interest when we could have just had the woman, like, we could have just had the woman not decide that her husband is not treating her like he should, because she's now spent the week with this other man who treats his wife like a goddamn princess. And speaking of the other husband, oh my god, again, it felt so, like, it felt almost comedic how horrible a human, like, first he's not, like, participating in he's not helping in absolutely anything. He's not helping. He's zero interest in the kids. He, like, hates his children. He genuinely doesn't want the kids. He only agreed to have their first child if she agreed to do literally everything related to the child. And that should have been that should have been the end of the relationship. They didn't have I think this happens after the second child, where he, like, his daughter gets gum in her hair and he just grabs her, yanks her, cuts off half her hair because he's so, like, sick of having of the children being around. He insults his wife. Like this man in no way, shape, or form should be up, like. And, like, the thing to top it all off, he tries to cheat on his wife with his wife who is in another person's body. And I just, it's a lot. I feel like her husband's a lot. And it was too much. Also, there was this, like, so, like, naturally, you have Wendy, who has this big, important speech she needs to do for work before, and they have to switch before that, but they obviously don't switch before that. And so Celeste has to give the big speech for Wendy's job, and she does a great job at the speech. That's where the book should have ended, but the book continues on and decides they're not going to be able to switch. And instead, what makes them switch is them both nearly physically dying, as if nearly dying is what they needed in order to appreciate each other. I don't fucking know. I don't know. It was rough. It was rough. I think it was, like, fine for a one read. There are definitely better books out there for people to read, but, like, it's not horrible. It's not horrible. It was just not great. Next up, Benty by Neddy Akortifor. Okay. Her name is Benty, and she is the first of the Himba people ever to be offered a place at Umza University, the finest institution of higher learning in the galaxy. But to accept the offer will mean giving up her place in her family to travel between the stars among strangers who do not share her ways or respect her customs. Knowledge comes at a cost, one that Benty is willing to pay, but her journey will not be easy. The world she seeks to enter has long warred with the Meduse, an alien race that has become the stuff of nightmares. Umza University has wronged the Meduse, and Benty's stellar travel will bring her within their deadly reach. If Benty hopes to survive the legacy of a war not of her making, she will need both the gifts of her people and the wisdom enshrined within the university itself. But first, she has to make it there alive. This was a really good book. It was a very short book, so if you want to pick it up, it's a very quick read. I really loved the idea. I loved how it was carried out. I felt every emotion as we went through, from like the like sorrow of leaving our people, but the excitement of getting to go and study in another world, to the anxiety when the attack happens. I loved it. I'm very excited to read the next book and see her reaction and how she interacts with her family when she gets to visit again. As well as I really liked her relationship with Okwu, who was the alien who's like the most excited to kill her, but then the clay that her people uses to cover their skin, she like gives him some, and it starts to heal one of his tentacles, which had been wounded in a battle. And so they slowly begin to trust each other because he wants more of this clay to heal himself, and she's like at this point hidden in a room trying to survive and is running out of like food and water and stuff. So they begin to bond, and then it eventually it's the point where she is able to convince Oku that if they land as is on the planet of the university, the school is going to probably just immediately kill them and they won't survive. So if they're able to come to an agreement to allow her to speak with the university staff, so that way we can find a way to get back. I believe it was someone had taken either the weapon or the like tentacle of the commander of the Meduse that were on this ship. And so that's what they had wanted to get back. She wanted to see if we can like find a way to discuss and communicate with each other to try and get that back. And they're able to do it. And from like him wanting to like murder Boner to him now wanting to like protect her and defend her and like help present her case, and when they're trying to convince the commander to let her speak for them, stuff like that. I really loved that transition to like now they're both in school and they're best friends, and he's convincing her and trying to remind her that they are not friends because she was Benty, the person that gave him the clay that healed his arm, or the person that brought the Meduse and the people together. like he is her friend because of who she is, and I love that transition for them. I loved it for them. It was so cute. Next up, Lord of the Flies. Why is this a child-friendly book? Why was I required to read this book in school at all? I don't understand. It's very gruesome. It's very gruesome. A little explicit. At the dawn of the next world war, a plane crashes on an uncharted island, stranding a group of schoolboys. At first, with no adult supervision, their freedom is something to celebrate. This far from civilizations, the boys can do anything they want. Anything. They attempt to forge their own society, failing, however, in the face of terror, sin, and evil. And as order collapses, as strange howls echo in the night, as terror begins its reign, the hope of adventure seems as far from reality as the hope of being rescued. Labeled a parable, an allegory, a myth, a morality tale, a parody, a political treatise, even a vision of the apocalypse, Lord of the Flies is perhaps our most memorable novel about the end of innocence, the darkness of man's heart. Yeah, this book is aggressive. And I was required to read this as a child. It hits way too close to home. Am I like off camera again? Ugh. Okay. You want me somewhere in this situation. It hits really close to home, given like the like battle between society and like the bloodlust and the wanting to do absolutely anything you want whenever you want without consequence of the other group. Just like, it's like he saw 2020 America and was like, yeah, wish they didn't look this goddamn childish, but here we are. I felt a lot of things to these kids, and I'm very, it was so gruesome. Like, they murdered 2 children in this book, and several others died on accident. It was, and then they just tried to hunt down a 3rd child. It was a lot happened. I also feel like I was probably slightly scarred from having to read this in school. But like the writing tone was definitely not my favorite thing to read, which is why I gave it the 4 stars. It wasn't like my favorite read. I wasn't super like invested in it. I wasn't super drawn into the world, but you know, it was a good story nonetheless. Oh no, one of my images is completely gone. Why are you freaking out? Hold on. Okay. Why are you freaking out? Hold on. An Absolutely Remarkable Thing by Hank Green. The Carls just appeared. Roaming through New York City at 3 a.m., 23-year-old April May stumbles across a giant sculpture. Delighted by its appearance and craftsmanship, like a 10-foot-tall transformer wearing a suit of samurai armor, April and her best friend Andy make a video with it, which Andy uploads to YouTube. The next day, April wakes up to a viral video and a new life. News quickly spreads that there are Carls in dozens of cities around the world, from Beijing to Buenos Aires. And April, as their first documentarian, finds herself at the center of an intense international media spotlight. Seizing the opportunity to make her mark on the world, April now has to deal with the consequences her new particular brand of fame has on her relationships, her safety, and her own identity. And all eyes are on April to figure out not just what the Carls are, but what they want from us. So, this book was a good book. I feel like it took a very long time to get the book to a point where, because it felt like you had like the first video being made, and then we just got so narrow focused on April and just like her like literally, like for the longest time, it felt like we just weren't referencing the Carls ever again. And you got so narrowly focused on her and her relationship and her girlfriend breaking, and her girlfriend, and then her and her other friends, and then just her like on the news talking about herself, and like her in marketing and making it just felt so closed in on her. For the longest time, I forgot that the Carls were supposed to be like, this was supposed to be a sci-fi book, and that the Carls were supposed to be an actual genuine part of the story. I was like, oh, I was genuinely like, oh, this is just gonna be like some social media like story, but it's not a sci-fi. I guess I misread that, whatever. But it is. It just took a third, a fourth of the way into the book to actually get to the part where it, like, I understand like making a character story and you want to focus on the character, but it felt like we were no longer, like, that stimulus of the story, that plot of the story was no longer impacting the character for a while. And so it was hard in that first part to really continue to be interested in, like because it wasn't interacting with the part of the story, and it wasn't at all like her like a reflection of the reaction, or a reaction to the alien stuff at all, and her development in relation to that. It got so far away from that it was really hard to connect where the like themes and the plot of the story was. The Defenders, I hate them, but like in the good, you definitely wrote a like super obnoxious fascist group in a great way, but I hate it kind of way. There was this portion in the story where they have this dream that spreads around kind of like a virus, and everyone's having the same dream. You're basically completely conscious, completely sentient in this dream, moving around. You're in this town that has buildings and structures and stuff and aspects of different cultures, and all around it, every building has puzzles that you can figure out. And I found that really interesting. I did want, like, I'm very curious as to how, because in the dream, if you had an injury, for instance, like April, I think it's either she was blown, I think she was blown, something happened. Maybe it was after she got stabbed. She was stabbed, and like that affected her range of motion and stuff in real life, but when she's in the dream, she was like happy, scrappy as normal. I wonder how that impacts people that like have different like physical disabilities. I wonder if like it is when you're in the dream, you have a range of motion at your normal kind of thing, versus there's a presumed set of capabilities that you like they expect humans to have and are giving to humans when in the dream, kind of, which is very curious. But yeah, there's the second book. I'll eventually read it. I thought the second book seemed interesting, so I'll eventually get around to it. We're gonna pause this part because for some reason you are freaking out on me, and I don't like that. Oh God, undo that. But yeah, why are you freaking out? Okay, so it's weird, peculiar. Let's try this. Sorry, my presentation's freaking out, and I swear I did the homework, teacher. Oddity. Tragic. Absolutely tragic. Okay. We Gucci again? Cute. Okay, next one. Physic by Angie Sage. This is the third book in the Septimus Heap series. I'm sure you guys saw, if you watched that stream, the absolute chaos of me just figuring out which book I need to read in this damn series. I wasn't sure if I was on, like, I think I knew I was on book 3, but just me trying to figure out, like, for the longest time I was like trying to read Quest, but then I was like in the prologue and I was like, this doesn't feel right, and I got in the first couple pages of chapter 1. I was like, this isn't the right book, and then I kept calling it Flight when I was telling you guys what book I was reading. I was a mess. We read Physic. Okay. While Silas Heap start over. Mulligan. Okay. When Silas Heap unseals a forgotten room in the palace, he releases the ghost of a queen who lived 500 years earlier. Queen Etheldreda is as awful in death as she was in life, and she's still up to no good. Her diabolical plan to give herself everlasting life requires Jenna's compliance, Septimus's disappearance, and the talents of her son Marcellus Pye, a famous alchemist and physician. And if Queen Etheldreda's plot involves Jenna and Septimus, then it will surely involve Nico, Arthur Mella, Marcia Overstrand, Beetle, Stanley, Sarah, Silas, Spitfire, Aunt Zelda, and all the other wacky, wonderful characters that made Magic and Flight so memorable. With heart-stopping action and dash of humor, Anti-Sage continues the fantastical journey of Septimus Heap. Okay. So, biggest issue with this book was that we spent, like, I felt like half of the book following Jenna as she was hanging out, like, flying around on Spitfire. And, like, their interactions did nothing. Literally nothing happened with her and Spitfire aside from shit jokes. Because, like, he's like a baby dragon, so he's pooping everywhere. That's it. That's all there was. We really should have spent any of that time with the dude that was sent back in time. Why? I just don't understand the decision that was made there. I really don't. The other thing that really pissed me off about this book was you have this mechanic where that was in the first book of it is a bullet that is, it's a named bullet. So it's a bullet that has someone's initials on it. And it was like IP for like infant princess or something like that, or interim princess, something like that, which was the way the bullet was named for Jenna. And in the first book, they had taken the bullet out of the gun and given the bullet to Jenna and said it found its mark. And I'm like, that's super fucking cool. They bring it back in this book, and how they like kind of get through the whole, like, it's a named bullet will always find its mark thing here is they shoot one of the characters, and like post shooting the character, they're like, oh, but the bullet still found its mark because her real name isn't Alice Nettles. Her real name is something with the initials IP, but she just never liked that name, so she just changed her name and never went by that name, but the bullet still found its mark. And it feels so half-assed. It feels like the author thought of like this really cool way she wanted to continue using this mechanic that she thought of, and just kind of like taped on a way out of the like problem. She just kind of taped on, and that's honestly the only other reason, like, that part of me is like, I guess that's probably the only other reason why we actually see any of this time with Jenna and them is because like we also get to see the ghost on her way to Zelda's to get the gun and the bullet and stuff like that, which, like, why, like, she could have just done that without Jenna being there. I'm 100% sure Jenna didn't need to be there for us to see the Ghost Queen go get the gun and all that stuff. But it feels like someone thought of a really cool mechanic, and because she didn't have already a way to integrate it into the book, like the book was already written, so instead she was just like, oh, we're just gonna add a sentence, add like a quick paragraph, and slap that in there. It's gonna be fine. It honestly, it's hard for me to like appreciate that because it doesn't feel like it was earned. It honestly reminds me of, I just finished watching with my husband the 12-minute stream that GT Live did on the game 12 Minutes, and you have this dude who is going in a time loop, and he's got to figure out this whole thing. Some dude's coming in saying that his wife murdered her father, and you got to figure out the whole thing about who, like, did the wife kill the father, who killed the father, and you find out that it was actually, like, her brother, who was the child of the nanny that the dad was cheating with. And then you find out later on in the book that, like, the main character is the brother and that he killed the father. It's like, okay, how does he not remember this? And it seems like the solution is that it was all a delusion and none of the time loop stuff was actually happening. And it's one of those things of, like, it's hard for me to appreciate that because it feels like you kind of just kept throwing shit at the wall. Like, you didn't actually make a logical mystery. You didn't make something that we could figure out, you know? You just kind of kept throwing shit at the wall and said, oh, none of it actually happened. That's what it is. None of it actually happened. And so, like, it's the, like, it was all a dream. Like, that's how we explain away everything that happened. That's how we explain the logic of it. It was all a dream and none of it happened. It's just hard to appreciate then the mystery of it because where I couldn't find, like, a logical explanation for things, there was no logic. That's all there was. That's all it was. It wasn't, like, something I was missing. It wasn't something that they, like, threaded it together very craftily that I need to figure out later. There just was nothing there. And this is, like, there's no real, like, logical explanation that could have been found anywhere in the book prior to you saying that, oh, she was just named something different the whole time. Which, like, I feel like that easily could have been avoided if you had just said her like, real name anywhere else. Like, she was hanging out with Arthur for a while, just those two. He could have said her real name at some point, and that, like, maybe, like, said that a couple times, something like that. It felt wasted. It felt like uninspired. I was very upset about that. But moving on to easily my favorite book on this entire goddamn planet, Lost in the Neverwoods. Also, this infinity sign, can we talk about how fucking perfect that graphic is for this book cover? Which I also want a print and, like, a poster of this book cover, and also, like, a signed hardback of this book. But the only issue I had with this book was the fact that there were some points where it felt like the author kind of just got ahead of them, not ahead of themselves, but got, like, really into, like, over dramatized and overly descriptive language. And sometimes it'd be like someone's walking across the room and the way they're, like, just, like, breaking the flow of the story to describe something super, like, maybe, like, the hair, like, she's walking across the store, across the room, and, like, they pause to describe her entirety of her scrubs, and, like, that type of thing would just pull me out of story occasionally. But for the most part, this is the most perfect book I've ever read in my life. I was physically not prepared for this book. Like I said, I could not sleep at times, which, why is this book not classified under a thriller or a horror, just fantasy? I could not sleep. This book literally took my breath away multiple times. I started crying in chapter 1. And the twists in this book, oh my fucking god. Like, I still get emotional. I still scream. I can't handle this book. Also, the fact that they broke up in the end, and it made sense for them to break up, but, like, also, I didn't want them to break up, so why did they break up? Oh! Yeah, that's where I'm at. Absolutely think you should read this book. I cannot recommend this book more. Read this book. And finally, the last book that I read, I actually didn't read Description of the book. Let's read it real quick. Lost in the Neverwoods by Aiden Thomas. God, I just love this cover. Whew. It's been 5 years since Wendy and her two brothers went missing in the woods, but when the town's children start to disappear, the questions surrounding her brother's mysterious circumstances are brought back into light. Attempting to flee her past, Wendy almost runs over an unconscious boy lying in the middle of the road and gets pulled into the mystery haunting the town. Peter, a boy she thought lived only in her stories, claims that if they don't do something, the missing children will meet the same fate as her brothers. In order to find them and rescue the missing kids, Wendy must confront what's waiting for her in the woods. Oh my god, this book physically hurt me. It physically hurt me. And I loved it. It was, again, can't recommend it enough. Okay, last book we have is Artificial Generation by A.H. Haga. Elena is part of a generation of artificially created children, believed to be humankind's last hope. They have only one purpose, to breed. Elena, however, doesn't want children. If she goes against the council, she risks losing everything she ever cared about. When her world is attacked, threatening to end their very way of life, Elena must fight for her and her peers' right to live how they want and make their own choices. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said, first and foremost, let me just say, this character on the cover has to be Ruby. I love her, but what's her name? Rachel? I forgot her name. This has to be like her love interest and not actually Elena, because Elena is described as being super pale skin, almost white hair. That's not at all. Maybe they were unable to find an image of someone that matches that description, and that's why they went with this person for the cover, and like maybe that's why they went with such a blown out cover. But Rowan is her name. But yeah, that absolutely does not look like the description of Elena that we get. Also, the fact that they are artificially created means nothing to the story. Like, if they were just fertile people, the story would be exactly the same. Which is, like, that's part of the reason why I only gave it 4 stars. It's, like, the fact that they are, the fact that they are artificially created does nothing. Also, I don't really know where the whole, like, she has to fight for their, like, right to live however they want thing comes in. That doesn't really come in. They go to war because people in the outside world attack them, and they are trying to like fight to survive. They're trying to fight to survive. But yeah, the whole like them being artificially created could easily be replaced with the like fact that they are just fertile, which is why it's weird that that's the title of the book. Something that's so irrelevant to what's going on in the story. The way sexuality is talked about in the book, like, there are a lot of talks about it that are very corny, which is fine. But there are also some where she's trying to say the fact that she doesn't want children and like, she doesn't want children equates that with meaning, like, she's gay, which is weird because, like, even her partner wants children, so it's just factually incorrect, and I don't know why those logical gymnastics were thrown in the book, but they were. I did think the story was really good. I honestly regularly think about this book a lot, but yeah, the fact that some of the talks with sexuality were just hard to sit through, and like, but it's also probably just really not my thing. They were super after school special like, and then there was the one that I just think is super wrong, and the fact that like the main title of the book really has nothing to do with the story at all, and is like could super easily be swapped out for another trait. It just doesn't, like, it doesn't really factor in at all. She's not fighting for she's genuinely not fighting for the like artificial generation kids to have anything special, because her friends like just say, hey, we're together, we got pregnant, deal with it, and the council was like, fine. And that was at the beginning of the book. Like, she isn't fighting for anything with regards to, like, AG rights or anything like that. It's, like, the fighting for the rights, even if you're talking about the rights of the fertile people or whatever, that's so very much not a, like, important part of the story. And, yeah, it's I really want to know where the author's head was at with the blurb writing as well as the title. But otherwise, I thought the story was really well done. The world is amazing to look through. I would for sure read another book in this series, but we don't have one anymore. But yeah, it was really good. I thought it was a really good book. Looking at all these things that I read this past quarter, what is likely going to end up in my, like, top 10? For sure, Lost in the Neverwoods, like, without a doubt. And then probably Song of the Forever Rains. We'll see if, like, that whole series just ends up in my top 10. But yeah, Lost in the Neverwoods honestly isn't even going to be in the top 10. It's going to be in its own little god tier because nothing, like, it's absolutely perfect. I absolutely, like, it would be unreasonable for me to compare it to, like, other reading experiences because nothing has ever felt like that before in my life. That's all I gotta say on that. But yeah, that is this reading wrap up. We did good. We read a lot. We read a lot for me. I will probably be slowing down on the reading, but that's fine because we got life to do. Oh no, I didn't mean to hit that. We got stuff to do. I'm still mid-move, as you can see by my disaster of a home. And yeah, it's definitely a whole, it's a good time. We're gonna hang out. We're gonna get back to it. In case you didn't see, I did post a vlog on my vlog channel, No Ordinary Vlogs. Go check that out. I also posted that vlog and an archive from one of my old No Ordinary Scholar videos on Instagram on the Firestorm2343 channel for the vlog and the No Ordinary Scholar Instagram account for that video. If you look down below, I do have a link to my newsletter, which y'all should check out. Over there, I am giving out the only digital copy you will ever get of I Hear Colors. That I'm giving that to you guys for free over at the newsletter. So if you want to check that out, go. Link is down below. So many cool things are going on right now. But yeah, that's all I have for right now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, Polynesians friends.